Aloha, golf fans and pursuers of knowledge in the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you my DFS preview and bet show for the Sentry Tournament of Champions. First off and foremost, Happy New Year to everyone. I hope you guys had a Merry Christmas. I'm excited that we have a new golf season ahead of us. Of course, we've had a bit of golf for the past couple months that I'm going to go through. But today I'm going to provide you guys with kind of an update on what's been going on in golf if you haven't been staying tuned in. Of course, I've been also playing some DFS football, get my butt kicked, so I'm excited to get golf back underway. And with that said, give me a few minutes. I'm going to give you guys a course breakdown. We're going to look at all the player information you need. And also, as I mentioned at the end, I will give you my favorite bets. Okay, let's do this. All right, so just a quick update. Again, if you have not been watching, there has been some golf going on, kind of mixed events, not, large fields. But of course, we had the QB shootout. This is a two-man kind of tournament. You had 12 two-man tournaments. I was actually hoping for Corey Connors and Graham McDowell purely from an odds play. I thought they'd be a good match. At the time, I think they were 13-1, something like that. But you had Kokrak and Kevin Na, who really smoked the last 13 holes. I believe they went 12 birdies on the last 13 holes or something like that. It's been a while. But long story short, they won, and I believe Burns and Horschel came in second. So, and literally from an odds perspective, that's exactly what it was priced out. But just so you know, you got both these guys in the Tournament of Champions field. And so, they have been playing some at least decent golf as a pairing. And of course, that was a 3-day event. Then you had a Tigers tournament, the Hero Challenge. This is about 20 guys playing, so a much shorter, smaller field in the Bahamas. And of course, you had Victor Hovland, who was on a bit of a tear during the fall, right? He won Mayakoba. He also, of course, won this tournament for the Hero. So again, just something to bring your attention. And also, of course, he's in the Tournament of Champions. And then last, I just threw this in there. I don't know if you guys saw that the European Tour is no longer. It is now called the DP World Tour. 2 points, I guess, was that, they had a lot of tournaments and financially they just, they didn't have the prize pool size. They probably also didn't have the attendance that they were hoping for. So how I see it is that the prize pool has went up and it's less tournaments. And you're going to see some of the bigger names, kind of trying to, of course, play both tournaments that we've seen in the past. And then I kind of pulled this together for you guys. Again, this is kind of since the FedEx Cup wrapped up, the Tour Championship. Kind of some of the winners and the tournaments that we saw. So I'd say the most recent, last real sanctioned PGA FedEx tournament, of course, was the RSM. We had Taylor Gooch win that, which I was thinking Taylor would win the Houston Open or even the Mayakoba. Did not really have him pegged for the RSM. A lot of it was just putting. The RSM was a really short, kind of small track that you had to be, more of a plotter, more strategic than a bomber. But hey, it worked out for him. So Taylor Gooch got his first win. You also had, talking about the DP World Tour, just so you know, Morikawa, of course, won, which would be almost like their FedEx Cup, won that event. Rory was in the lead by, I believe, 5 strokes. He kind of fell apart. I'm sure you saw the Twitter thing where he ripped his shirt in utter disgust. And you had Morikawa come back again, like I said, from 5 positions to win that. You had, out of nowhere, really, I think, Jason Kokrak win the Houston Open. He was not playing that good of golf going into it. And literally, his putter just went en fuego. I believe, I remember right, he gained 10 shots with just a putter. So that was his, I believe, third win. I think he won the CJ Cup, and then he won, I think, the Charles Schwab. So good on him. And again, as I mentioned, he won the QB shootout with Kevin Na. And also, already stated with Victor, of course, he won the Mayakoba and the Hero. You had Lucas Herbert, who was showing some life midsummer and then kind of fell back and then kind of put it all together to win the Bermuda Championship, the Butterfield Bermuda. And then you had Hideki, of course, win the Zozo over in his native land. So that, funny enough, I wasn't super on him at that time. Again, I don't think he was playing that great of golf. But then, of course, whenever you put it on native soil, with him not having the best outing at the Olympics, I think he really wanted to go out and perform well in front of the home crowd. And he did. And then last but not least, Rory, of course, went into CJ Cup. If I remember correctly, I think that was like their first real tournament after the Tour Championship. The putter heated up for him, and he's been playing pretty good golf. So, again, most of these guys, I'm just trying to look, all of these guys will be in the Tournament of Champions. So, again, just note to self, they have all been in some decent form within the last few months. With that said, let's go jump over. Let's look at the full field kind of recent history, and then we'll jump in and go back more into the course breakdown. Okay, so real quick, I wanted to jump over to Fantasy National. I think all of us are probably in a bit of a fog, right? We had the holidays. If you are a DFS player, I'm sure you've been playing a lot of DFS football, like myself. And now to get the golf brain back going, I think this is a good way. And what you're looking at here is over the past 5 tournaments, well, I guess it'd be 6 tournaments since the actual conclusion of the Tour Championship, the FedEx Cup. And then what I did is I pulled up just stroke gain total and wanted to look at the guys who've been playing the best, because kind of my narrative going into this tournament is going to be, I do like the guys that have been playing in the fall, that have been playing well in the fall. Every time I've seen a length for these guys, there is some rust. I don't care how much they're playing on the range or how many friendly betting games they're playing. It's a total different beast when you're going to play 4 days PGA competitive golf. So I like the guys that have been doing well. So the guy who's actually also, these guys, it's going to be on how much they play. Some of these guys, we haven't seen it for all or at all, like a Cantlay or a Rahm. But Taylor Gooch, from a stroke gain total, is your best player over the past, these past 6 events. Of course, he won the RSM, had a T11 at Mayakoba, had the T5 at the CJ Cup, did not show up at the Houston Open, which was a bit shocking to me. Your next guy is actually Cam Smith, and who actually had a pretty good FedEx Cup run. But just looking at these events, a T9, a T15, a T4, Seamus Power had that great summer, kind of dipped a little, but if you look at Seamus over the last, 4 events he played in, a T4, T11, T12. Now, again, you got to remember some of these fields are a little smaller, but most of these are full size, except the Zozo and the CJ Cup. I mentioned already Victor Hovland had a couple wins, but even at the, won Mayakoba, won the Hero, and then had a T18 at the CJ Cup. Morikawa, I mentioned the win at the DP World Championship, plus, second at the CJ Cup, a T7 at the Zozo. You can kind of just go through and see, I already mentioned Hideki had the win. You had Kokrak, who won the Houston. You had Lucas Herbert, who's only played twice, missed a cut at Mayakoba, but won in Bermuda. And then if we kind of go down, I'll scroll down to see the guys that have been kind of struggling more. So Cam Davis missed, of course, won the Rocket Mortgage in my beautiful Detroit, Michigan. And he missed his last couple cuts. You got Kisner, who had the win at Wyndham, but, missed the cut here recently at the RSM, which is a little shocking. He's, from that area. Sea Island guy, typically does well there, has been a winner in the past, but the game, I think, for the whole season, except for Wyndham, which came out of nowhere. And of course, it was the putter that he finally heated up for him. But you got Homa, struggled a little bit recently. Of course, he won, what was it, the Safeway? Kind of the kicking off of the fall season in California. Brandon Grace, couple cuts. Stuart Sink, who is crazy odds. I think he's like 200-1, which, when he was playing well, this course actually, it's not a bad play for him. It's not a terrible bet. Koepka, one thing I didn't put in, of course, you had that, what was it, a 14-hole in Vegas, the match, of course, against Bryson, where he just smoked Bryson. I think he beat him 4 holes up. So long story short, Bryson did not win a hole, and Koepka just blew him away. So, and Koepka actually, even though you see these missed cuts, the little bit I have seen him, the game has been getting better. Hopefully the knee's better. I think that's it. Then you got like this, we haven't seen DeChambeau, except for I just mentioned the match. Mickelson, Cantlay, Rahm, Cameron Champ, who won the 3M not too long ago. Matt Jones, a couple miscuts. So anyways, I just wanted to show you this real quick. Again, just to jog the brain. Let's go back. Let's talk about the Tournament of Champions. Let's go talk about the Plantation course. Okay, so for your course breakdown, we are heading over to Maui, Hawaii. Lahini, I believe exactly is the area within Maui. I think we're gonna have the Sony Open and this Tournament of Champions, so it's kind of the Hawaii swing, we'll call it. They will be playing, as they have been since 2013, the Plantation course at Kapalua Resort. Your architects are Bill Core and Ben Crenshaw, and there was you call it a redesign, a refresh back in, I believe that was 2020, but nothing too crazy. It is the only course on the PGA Tour that is a par 73. So they have an extra par 4, and it's a big boy course, but there's this whole elevation thing we're going to talk about. Playing at 7,596 yards. We're looking at Bermuda fairways and rough. Rough coming in at about 2.5 inches last I saw. And it is a Tiff Eagle Bermuda greens. The player field is typically around 40 players. What I saw recently is 39 PGA players. So the guys that make this tournament, of course, are guys that were past winners in 2021, or you had to be top 30 in the FedEx ratings, or like Xander Schauffele, who I believe is top 30 in FedEx, but he also got in because he won the gold medal at the Olympics. So that said, you've got a really strong field, so it should be a great tournament. Of course, there's no cut. It's 4 days for everybody. And the past winner was Harris English, which was crazy. He was kind of a long shot. He didn't win a tournament at this time for 7 years. And he went out and shot 25 under, just crazy irons, but really it was a putter, also went nuts. He was in a playoff with Neiman. They played one hole. Harris birdied it. Neiman did not, and he was a winner at 25 under. You've had a couple playoffs that's happened here. The previous year in 2020, you had Justin Thomas win at 14 under, and that was a 3-man playoff where you had JT, Xander, X-Man, if you want to say, and also Patrick Reed. That score, 14 under, is going to be an anomaly, and it was due to two of the rounds were crazy wins. And then the year before that, you had Xander win at 23 under. So typically, you're looking at somewhere between 23 to 25 under. So it is a bit of a birdie contest, a bit of a scoring fest. There's a lot of opportunities out there. We'll get into that. These, I believe, are either the or some of the largest greens on the PGA Tour, coming in at 8,700 square feet on average. Again, your average green size on tour is about 5,500. They're also pretty flat, but there is some undulation. But again, if you wanted to rank them from the highest undulation greens to there, I would say they're pretty flat. You got 93 sandbunkers. Really, the only defense this course has is, yeah, it's got some sand, but really it's wind. That's really it, is weather. There's no water hazards. Even the ocean is not in play on any hole. The greens are a little bit slower, comparative to what they're used to. I put them somewhere around 10.5 on the stemp meter. If you look at it, if you want to understand what that means, if you look at Augusta, really fast greens, those run around a 13. So just give you some kind of idea. I already mentioned the course defense. Also the other side is that the course can play a bit long during the winter because you typically get quite a bit of rain during this time in Hawaii, and severe elevation changes. So that's two things that I've got a little video that I'll show you on this about this course. But in long story short, you're going to have not a whole lot of level shots. You're going to have some blind shots. But on the note is there's also holes that you're hitting down. And so a hole that maybe a par 5 that's 600 yards is going to play more like 500 yards because of the very steep elevation changes. And then just some past notes from previous years. We need players that can go low. No shocker. There is quite a bit of eagle. So typically, if I remember correctly, I think 18 and 9. But 18 for sure is definitely an eagle opportunity. A couple of the par 5s are. I typically like the bombers here that can get a hot putter because they can take advantage of some of these par 4s on the par 5s. There's crazy wide fairways, and there's, so it's not even, we're at the, even like, you put like a Mark Leishman, Cam Smith, guys that, aren't super long, but what I'm getting to is we don't have to worry about them getting a little astray with the driver. Even a Jordan Spieth, who's done well here. And then just side note, Xander on 2019 when he won, shot a 62, which is tied for the course record on Sunday. So just note to self, Xander has had a good record here. Even though last few times I've seen Xander play, it hasn't been the greatest. But, as another note, I'll probably more in the picture, I'll get into this. But, it's going to be difficult trying to use the typical modeling and analysis and data because a lot of these guys we haven't seen, and we're going to be, older data is going to be used. So this could be a little different, but we're going to have to go with what, kind of the narrative that I'm going to be going with the guys that I like that have been playing. Okay, here's that quick elevation video and also give you a quick understanding of the course.
Champions. Located on the northwest side of the island of Maui, the highest point is on the 17th tee at 500 feet above sea level. In comparison, the lowest point sits at 75 feet above sea level on the second green, a difference of 425 feet. The The drastic change in elevation creates the opportunity for heroic shots on the drivable moderate length par 4s and reachable long par 5s.
So with that said, in short, as I kind of mentioned, from number 17 to number 2, you're talking 425 feet difference. What does that mean? It just means that there's going to be certain holes that if you're playing up, it's going to play a little longer, and other holes that are going down. Another thing I pulled from previous is that this course has the easiest greens to hit on tour. Of course, when you have that kind of size, no shocker, but just kind of, again, just a side note. But approach and putting is what it all typically comes down to. All right, we look at the scorecard. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, and for whatever reason, the PGA hasn't put out an official scorecard, but usually these are pretty dead on from previous years, so I don't think there'll be any big changes. But you don't start out with a general handshake. One of the tougher holes is this number 2, par 3, playing at 220. You can also see the first hole, 520-yard par 4. And I'm just going with the harder holes and trying to figure out, really, again, the easier side looks like the back, even though you have the number 1 handicap hole. But the uniqueness of this course, as I mentioned, is a par 73. There is 11 par 4s, 4 par 3s, 4 par 5s. And as always, you need to make hay on the par 5s, but also there's a lot of scoring opportunities on the par 4s. And if we want to look at from an eagle perspective, you can see number 5 playing at 526 is a high percentage that they could get an eagle there. And then also, as I mentioned, 18. I've seen quite a bit of eagles there. But yeah, it's, you're looking at guys, like I said, that shooting a 65 is about what you have to do out here to stay in the hunt and have a chance to win. Again, if the weather permits. Okay, on that note, how do you win the Tournament of Champions? And really, you could look at, this is at a stroke gain analysis approach. And really, approach and putting, you can make 1A, 1B. You can flip these either way. Of course, if you're hitting the shots close to the pin, you don't have the more difficult putts. But if you are hitting these large greens, you're going to have to make some long putts. So I think I put into the model that we'll look at here shortly. I'm looking at guys that can make 25 footers and out who do the best at that range. I also like driving distance, not worrying about how many fairways they hit, because these are huge wide fairways. Of course, short game, you're going to see in the past a lot of chipping in. Proximity to the pins, these are my guesses. I don't have that kind of data, even though we do have stroke gain data for this. And while I'm thinking of it, PGA Live has moved over to ESPN Plus. So if, like me, you like to watch a lot of the coverage that's not shown on the Golf Channel or CBS or whatever, you need to check out ESPN Plus to get the day-by-day coverage. And it looks like they're going to be doing a little better coverage than what was just on PGA Live. So just side note that. But these are the procs of the pins I think I showed up. Again, I'm looking for guys that can gain strokes on par 4s because you got 11 of them at this 400 to 450 range. You got 4 par 4s kind of ranging between, really more 550 to 650, but there is one that's less. You got to make birdies and eagles here. And then also I put in 3-putt avoidance because the greens are so large. It can happen. Not typically, but it can happen. So a lot of the emphasis is on putting approach for me. And then you can kind of see this illustrated. Look at the past 3 years of winners. Of course, Harris English, who won last year. You can see it wasn't, it's kind of flipped where he gained 7 strokes with the putter, only 1 stroke on approach. But then you look at Joaquin and JT, it was all irons, not so much putter. You kind of flip it over here, Justin Thomas. Again, he did it with the irons. And then you look at Reed, who did it with the putter. So, like I said, it's back and forth. I'm looking for the guy that, historically, that is good with his irons and typically putts well on Bermuda. And that's going to be the guys I kind of go with. And again, you can look down here. Kind of sticks out over and over. It's, it's irons, and you don't have to be that good with a putter or flip it around. If you look off the tee, I mentioned that I want driving distance. Yeah, that's great, but it's not necessary. You can see these reds. Here's guys that lost distance off the tees and still, were top 5. So, really, I'm looking for the iron guys and the putters. But like Harris English, the gain 7 to 10 strokes with a putter, kind of like what Kokrak did at the HP Houston Open. It's hard to predict. But we do know guys that typically putt well on Bermuda. If you think of Sammy Burns, if you think of what Gooch has done recently, if you think of Daniel Berger, those guys, just off top of the head have been putting well and also on Bermuda. All right, so right now we don't have DraftKings pricing out, but I wanted to get this out for you guys, and it really doesn't matter. I pulled it up by odds, and typically if you see the guys like JT, John Rahm. Those are going to be like 1, 2 most cost. So the higher the odds, the less the cost. Flip that around. But so the model that I created, kind of going off what I already discussed, I got driving distance at 10%, approach at 20. I got a lot of weighting on the putting. So you're going to see 3-putt avoidance. You're going to see, just overall how many strokes gained with the putter, and also that 25-foot range I kind of mentioned. There is a bit of sand out here, so I threw that in. I'm looking for guys that can get birdie or better opportunities. I put that at 10%, of course, gaining birdies. I got eagles. Again, this is like a Shriners. This is a bit of a scoring fest. It's not a tough track. As long as if the wind doesn't blow, these guys are going to tear this course up. That's the simplest way to put it. With all that said, if you want to know who ranks number one, again, I'm looking at the last 12 rounds. So this is the last 3 tournaments. Some of these guys, this data is going to be pulled from the FedEx Cup playoffs. Most of these guys have played a little bit since then. Like I said, anomalies will be like a Cantlay, a DeChambeau, Rahm. I'm trying to think of anybody else that kind of sticks out that it played no fall golf. Xander, I don't think played. Maybe he played the Zozo and the CJ Cup. But anyways, just to let you know, there's some guys that, as I already kind of stated, that we know have been in good form recently. I think just right off the bat, Taylor Gooch, and this odds is not alive anymore. I think the last I saw, you can get like a 41 to 35. But I think that's great odds. Like I said, he's been playing amazing. And I see no reason why he could not win this tournament. Just, I've got him in my favorite bets. I just saw that, just throwing that out there. But anyways, if you kind of go down the list, you got Cam Smith, number one. Like I said, he's been playing pretty good in the fall. Also had a pretty good FedEx Cup playoffs. I like the Gooch. DeChambeau, that's hard because, like I said, we haven't really seen him in a while. Victor Hovland has been playing great. Sammy Burns. I think Leishman's going to be an interesting play at this course. I mean, again, we're not doing picks right now, but just starting to give you some ideas. But anyways, from recent form, and again, this is kind of pulling, even though it's the last 12 rounds, it's all a little different for all these guys. All right, one thing that is history at Kapalua. At this course, I pulled the guys, again, looking at the last 3 tournaments they would play. Some guys have not played here that much. Of course, you got to win a tournament to get here, or you got to be high in the FedEx Cup rankings. And but Jordan Spieth, when he has played here, even though he killed me, I believe it was at the Hero, I picked him, and he just didn't play well. But in his past history, he has done well here. And again, you don't have to worry about the driver with Jordan, even though it's been coming along. It's actually been the putter that's been kind of falling a little bit back for Jordan. But here's the guys that rank top 15. I'm looking, 39 guys. I'm going to give you the top 15 plays for each of these categories. The one that I think is crucial is the best Bermuda putters over the last. So I took a larger sample size. Whenever I look at putting, I like to take a little larger sample. Now this again is looking at the last 6 tournaments they played on Bermuda greens. But some of this could be the Arnold Palmer. It could go back a little bit, but it's within the most recent year. We'll put it that way. But Sammy Burns, we all know Bermuda Burns, right? Won Valspar. He had another win now, and I'm blanking on it. But great on Bermuda. Cam Smith. So that's, the guys that I'm kind of probably leaning a little more to, the guys that putt really well. Because all these guys that are in this can play, and have been in pretty decent recent form. But, there's some guys that we do have to keep an eye out for. Like a Garrick Hago, I actually bet him. His odds at that, when I bet him, were like 180 to 1. And, he can get hot. And also his wins have been on coastal courses. Of course, that was in the Canary Islands or whatever. But, hey, for almost 200 to 1, Garrick Hago, why not? Bombers. Now, if you want to just understand guys that hit it far and maybe could take advantage on some of these holes, of course, you need other things, but just, I wanted to pull this up for my own. You got DeChambeau, of course, leading that. Cameron Champ, who kind of came out of nowhere, was one of my picks, was my pick for the 3M Open, paid like 150 to 1. I actually got him in. That odds, he was at like 130. So it's kind of funny. There was some better odds on these guys right in the early beginning. I guess as money came in, things started to shift. But you probably could find them better in a 75 to 1, I would believe. Lucas Herbert, can strike the ball pretty far. Of course, he had that one on Bermuda greens at the Bermuda Championship. Again, Rahm always live, but we just haven't seen him for forever. Of course, probably been spending a lot of time with the family and the new baby. So it just gives you some ideas if you're looking for guys that can, lengthwise. And then, like I said, I would probably weigh my picks more on approach and putting. Of course, this is pulling up the last, 3 tournaments, 12 rounds. So no shocker. You got some past winners. Of course, Berger had a good tournament. Oh, geez, I'm blanking now. It might have been at the Hero. But Gooch, Hovland, Cam Smith's been playing well. Burns, JT has been putting. He did play at the QBE. Wait a minute. I'm going to take that back. The PNC, I didn't put that in because there's so many guys, or the family kind of thing that they do. It really doesn't make sense. But of course, John Daly won that. You had Tiger and his son coming second. But Justin Thomas, I watched a bit of that. He's playing well. I mean, his dad had a bad back, so his dad really couldn't help out. Of course, they were winners the previous year. Anyways, I'm just saying that we were off, or I was off on JT for a while because his putter was a disaster. But it looks like it's in better form. So I just let you in on that. Of course, his odds are crap, and he's favored to win and probably be, if not the most expensive, the second most expensive guy in the field from a DFS perspective. Then this is something I use for Showdown. Pulling up birdies, bogey avoidance, eagles, the opportunities for birdie or better, and then just opportunities gained. This gives you a scoring leader. So this is just purely looking at birdies and eagles and not getting bogeys. Who's done that the best over the past 12 rounds? Because again, a lot of it's going to come down to scoring here. They're going to need, 7 to 8 birdies. Throw an eagle in there. They're going to need to shoot low rounds. Cam Smith's been doing that the best. And actually, like I said, he's going to be in my betting discussions. But Victor Hovland, of course, this is old information for Cantlay, but he won the BMW, he won the Tour Championship, so he was playing in Fuego. But again, he's going to have some kind of rust. Sungjae Im, we actually have not seen a ton of him in the fall, which is kind of crazy. Usually the Ironman doesn't miss a tournament. At least off the top of my brain, I'm trying to remember the last tournament he played in, but it's been a while. But yeah, gives you an idea of some of the guys who've been scoring well. And then comp course, I'm not going to really weigh this too heavy at all, but I always provide you guys with comp courses. And then when I go through my picks, I will bang them against these. But of course, the Sony Open is in Hawaii. It should be the next tournament. I haven't even checked, but it should be the next tournament on the schedule. But that's a par 70, little over 7,000 yards. So it is not like this course. But if you want to understand from the conditions where the Sony Open has gotten windy, but you got guys like Kevin Na who won that last year. Actually, the only win that Cam Smith has on tour that wasn't a team event was at the Sony Open. I believe that was 2019. So it's kind of interesting because I like Cam, has won in Hawaii before. It's about the only, ties you can make with the Sony Open. But if you want to understand courses that are over 7,400 yards, Bermuda, and, are these 4 courses would be the API at Bay Hill. You got Wells Fargo. You've got Sanderson Farms, which is CC of Jackson. And then if you look at the Houston Open, when it was played at the CC Country Club of Houston, those are good comparable courses. From a green size, I think, let me see here. I think Bay Hill's got very large greens of 7,500 square feet. And then I think also the Houston Open, when it was played at CC, has 7,000. So there's a lot of, things that are similar. Now, a lot of those courses I think are tougher than this. I mean, you got water all over the place at Arnold's course at Bay Hill. Wells Fargo's got a ton of trees. It's a tough track. Sanderson Farms, I think that's one of the tougher tracks they play at CC Jackson. It's a lot like where they play the Valero. Very tree lined. You have to keep it very straight. So, long story short, I don't think comparable courses really come into play here. There's no par 73s. If you want to think about just who's done well on really long courses, I'll save that till we get to the favorite bets. How about that? Which it should be coming up right now. Here we go. All right. So with that said, it kind of was a good segue. If you think about the guy who last played a course that was 7,600 yards and won and has got distance and can get hot with a putter, funny enough, was Phil Mickelson. Now, nobody was on him to win the PGA Championship at Kiowa, but I got him at 130 to 1. And why not? Now, we haven't seen Phil in a while, but what does Phil do? He can hit it far. And also, on a side note, there is some new rule changes that are in for the year. The two that I think makes most sense to discuss real quick, since we're talking about Phil, is that there's no drivers over 46 inches. So there's no 48s. So like DeChambeau, would put that into play here or there. So that's a new rule, 46 inches or less. And also, of course, as you probably heard multiple times, the greens books will be just very standard vanilla They can write notes in them as they go, but just so you know, the green books changed. That's the two major changes I saw for this year on the PGA. But back to Phil the Thrill at 131. I'll take some odds on that. Could do well here. I mean, he could get hot. So also Cameron Champ. Okay, so you can see him going with some bombers. I got him at 90 to 1. 1 to 3M, of course, hasn't had the greatest putter, but it could happen, and this course could fit him. I think Taylor Gooch, as I mentioned, his odds have been somewhere between 40 to 35. I got him at 35 to 1, but I just did DraftKings. I did see it. I think FanDuel has him at 40 to 1. But, everything lines up for me in my mind that he could be a great play from a DFS perspective, of course, and also a great bet at 35 to 1. And you guys, just so you know, if you've been with me, I like the long odds of. I'm going to put money on golf. And as we know, long shots happen. Now, this tournament, it doesn't favor a long shot, but I don't know what Harris English was last year, but I guarantee he had to be somewhere between 75 to 100 to 1. He didn't win a tournament for 7 years. He came out of nowhere. And once he won that tournament, you could see his game, of course, was in form, and away he went to keep winning. But anyways, I'm just saying it could happen. Brooks Koepka, 25 to 1. Brooks, I think his game is getting better. I think he's getting healthier. And when Brooks wants to go do something, when he wants to win something, and I believe this, he's going to really either be right there winning or he's going to come in like second. Like when he played DeChambeau in the match. And now I get it. It's more of a kind of a slap and tickle. But you could tell he had a chip on his shoulder with DeChambeau and wanted to go out and embarrass him. And he embarrassed him. I mean, to beat him 4 up and I think the match was over after 8 holes. That's crazy. And I think he wanted to. And that's, of course, DeChambeau didn't make any putts. He didn't play terrible. It's just Brooks just did what Brooks does when he wants to win. Now, if he doesn't give a crap, then, of course, he's going to miss the cut. Now, here we don't have to worry about that. But anyways, 25 to 1, I like Brooks. And then, like I said, the guy that I think also I like to win this thing. And also, you got to remember, if the wind does blow, Cam Smith is a great wind player. When he won the Sony Open in Hawaii, it was windy conditions. Crazy windy conditions. So with that said, if you're looking for not doing the 8 to 1 or whatever, but 14 to 1 is not great odds. I think it's even better right now. I felt like I saw maybe a little better odds on Cam, but that's what I got it like a week ago. Thank you for stopping by. And if you are new to my show, you like how I do what I do, to keep me doing this, because as you see, no commercials, none of that. Click that like button, share it with anybody else, but I need you guys to subscribe. We are at 960 subscribers. I need to get to that 1,000 threshold quickly. So I would greatly appreciate it. It's no skin off your teeth. And guess what? If you do subscribe, I do 3 shows a week, and you will get the updates, turn on the notifications, and I'm going to help you guys win some money as we did in 2021. And if you have anything you want to ask me, hit me up on YouTube comments or on Twitter at DFS Golf Guru. All right. I'm excited for the new season, as you can probably hear, and excited for this tournament and ready to get in some golf and start putting some more shackles in my pocket, and hopefully yours is too. All right, guys, take care. I'll talk to you tomorrow on my picks.